Hello, folks. I hope you are doing well today. And today we are going to discuss about the VMware Workstation and how to set up a virtual machine in VMware Workstation. So I have installed one of the VMware Workstation licensed version. So if you can check about the VMware Workstation, you can find it's a licensed version. So even if you don't have the license, you can use it with the trial version for the lab purpose and for practice purpose. And I am inside the VMware Workstation, and you can just go to create a new virtual machine from here, and that will launch the new VM wizard. So where you have some typical settings if you want to go, and there is a custom advanced. So typical settings, one or two settings you have to select, and it will be just like next, next. It can go. So just let me show what are the differences you will have with the custom option. So I'm going with the custom and advanced option. So once you select, you have like hardware compatibility, and there are some cases we can export our virtual machine into one of the image or OVA file, and then we can import it that into another virtual machine or somewhere in your other device. So that time, if you want to have cross functionality hardware compatibility, you can just select the downward version, which is going to have it with a support. It is going to have the support with 16 and 15 workstation and ESXi. If you see, that's a bare metal. It's another type of hypervisor which we will be using on our servers directly without any OS. It will be installed directly on the hardware, and we will try to get it with vCenter and all those options. So that's not required for us for this lab discussion. So we'll go ahead with the workstation version. So I will go with the latest version of Workstation, and it shows the compatibility products of Fusion. We will have something like VMware Fusion Player, so it supports the 13.x and Workstation 17.x. And we will have limitations to up to 128 GB we can use, and 32 processors, and 10 network adapters, and 8 TB disk size, and 8 GB shared graphics memory. If you have something like other hardware requirements, if you want to use this with this VMware Workstation 17 version. So I'm going with the workstation 17 and go for next. So here you have like you can install the operating system later, or if you have the ISO file, you can select the ISO file and install it from here. So right now, I'm just going to select the ISO file, and I have the ISO file already downloaded. There is one CentOS and Ubuntu. In our previous discussion using Oracle VirtualBox, I show how I have discussed about Ubuntu installation, and in this session we are going to use CentOS7, so which will be similar to our Red Hat operating system. So once you select the ISO file, by default you can see it's selected CentOS 7. That's um, that's the configuration in VMware Workstation you have. So it maximum 90% it tries to detect the operating system of which OS we are going to install when you select the ISO file directly. So I selected the CentOS 7 and go next. So it will ask to give any virtual mission name, which will be going to show the display here, the mission name, something like that. So um, let me give the VM name. It's just you can give test VM, or you can use CentOS, or you can give something whatever it is the VM name. And if you want to go for default path, you can go, or if you want to change the path, you can change it to the other path as well. So just browse, and you can take anywhere in your directory. So I'm going for one of the custom path where I have set up. So I created virtual labs directory. So I'm going inside this directory. I'm giving the name of that. Inside that directory, it is going to create a directory as this Kalasha Tech Fusion, and inside that this virtual machine files is going and sitting there. So we can see those files once the virtual machine is created. So for now, I selected the custom path and I gave some custom name for the virtual machine. You can go next, and here you can select number of processors if you want to change. This is what it was showing, the limitations up to 32 processors you can use. And you have the cores if you want to change the cores for that. For this lab purpose, I'm going with a single processor because we are not going to have any load on that. It's only plain operating system I'm going to install, and I'll show you how the operating system we can access. So next, and here we can select the memory up to 128 GB. This was another limitation in the hardware compatibility. You can use up to 128 GB, but for our lab purpose, I'm going to use only 1 GB, which is sufficient to just to install operating system. And it's recommended, if you can see here, guest OS recommended minimum 512 and recommended is 1 GB, and maximum recommended 13 GB. So I'm just going with the recommendation. I'm go next, and here you have something very critical and important things in your configuration. So in our previous discussion, we have seen, I mean, in Oracle VirtualBox configuration, we have discussed about bridge, NAT, and host-only network. So here, what happens when you use NATing, bridging, and host-only? So in some cases, we will have something like our development or test environment, which doesn't require to communicate outside the network, and it should have only access to only our base OS. That's something like I should access from this. Laptop to from this laptop I should access only the virtual machine, and it should not go communicate outside the world. That time we will use only host only network. So that means it connect a guest operating system to a private virtual network on the host computer. That means it connects with the host computer with a private network. That's all. And when you go for a NATing, it's something like it get the access from our computer to use some internet. So it's basically we will be having some IP address configured for us. I mean, when you connect to your router, you will be having some DHCP IP configured for this operating system. That's our this Windows 11 operating system which I'm using. It will have some IP address configured through DHCP, and from there this NATing will give, I mean, it's something like from our base mission IP to another IP will be used for this virtual machine which we are going to use. And the other option is a bridge network, where you will have something like the guest operating system will have direct access to the external Ethernet network. That means the virtual machine which we are running here, I mean the CentOS mission, can get the IP directly from our router. It doesn't require to go through our operating system. That's the difference between bridge network and NAT network and host only network. And most of the times, if you want to do any isolated environment testing, you can go for host only networking. And if you want to have some network updates or network configuration, if you want to get from outside Ethernet, you can use the bridge network, which will be getting the direct IP address from our router. It is something like another mission is getting the IP address from the router instead of going through our laptop. So I prefer to go with a bridge network or host only network on my day-to-day activities. So right now I'm using the bridge network so that we can get the IP address directly from a router and get the internet access to that mission. So if you are using inside Office network or something, if a proxy is configured, sometimes you have to use the proxy inside that. It's a different concept. So now in this, you can see that select IO controller types, which is SCSI controller, which is used for virtual disks. So I'm going with the recommended LSA logic, and then you can see that which disk type you want to use. Like we have IDE, SCSI, SATA, all those things. I am going with recommended, which is SCSI. And here you have like to create a new virtual disk. If you have a new virtual disk, you can use the existing one. Or if you want to use a physical disk, you can use a physical disk as well. And for this lab, I'm going to use the new virtual disk to create. And here you have something like you can give the maximum disk size, how much you want to give from your I mean, whatever the disk size you are giving, it is going to occupy your actual disk on your laptop. So it's a recommended size is 20 GB. I don't want to go high because I don't want to fill my disk size completely. For this lab purpose, we can use this. And if you want, you can allocate all disk space now, and which is going to use 20 GB. Whether you have the data or not, complete disk will be utilized 20 GB from your physical disk. So for our lab purpose, we doesn't require that. And whenever you are trying to write the data, it is going to increase, and it is going to increase the size from your physical disk. So I will not prefer for this option. And there is two options where you can store virtual disk as a single file, or you can split virtual disk into multiple files, which will have multiple virtual disk files in your installation directory. I always used to go to have a single file so that all files will be there in that single virtual disk. So that's this is the virtual disk name which is going to create, and that's all the configuration. If you want to customize something RAM also before powering on the virtual machine, you can modify. So the hardware, you can see that memory 1 GB, processors 1, and the CD which is using ISO, and the network adapter bridge I'm using, and then USB controller, it's available. If you doesn't require, you can remove it from here. And their sound card, printer, display, all this by default it is using. So that is not going to cause any problem for us. So I'm leaving as is. If you doesn't if you feel it doesn't require USB controller, you can remove that. So for now, I'm continuing with this configuration. Close it. And if you want to power on after finish immediately, you can leave this as is. But if you want to power on manually, you can uncheck that. And just to show the difference, I'm just unchecking. So that's done. Now you can see that there is a virtual machine created. And let us go and see the directory where we have stored all our lab files. So this is the directory. So you can see that virtual disk is created with 2.56 MB. So if you have selected allocate all space instead of 2.56, it's going to be 20 GB it is going to occupy. And this is going to increase by the time we install the OS, by the time we write some files and have something like that. So this is the main configuration file you need to have. And if you have these two files, you can export and import this virtual machine anywhere. So this is the configuration file. If you open with something like Notepad, you can just check that there are some configuration details you will have about this. So these all are advanced options. Until unless you are familiar with this, don't go for changing this one. If you change something here, it may crash your virtual machine as well. This is the basically the configuration of all our virtual machine, which is going to uh, save in this file. So this is the configuration file, and you can see here there is a VMware virtual machine configuration, and this is a virtual disk file. And there is one more, this one. This is snapshot metadata. I will show you about the snapshot, how you can take all those things. And then this is something log file. Whenever this virtual machine is running or it's open or it's accessing in our base machine or in our device, we will have that log directory created. So once you can check here devices, which and all devices, and description if you want. The state is in powered off state, and hardware compatibility you can see here, and primary IP address it's not available still because we haven't started the voice installation. So without further delay, let us start installing the operating system. Let me power on this virtual machine. So if you see here, it's starting, and here you can see install CentOS7 and test this media and install CentOS7. So I don't want to test it. I am directly going for install CentOS7. So this is how we configure the virtual machine configuration before starting the OS installation. And now we are going for CentOS 7 installation. Till here, it will be same for any type of operating system to select these network adapters and hardware devices, all those things. Once you are in, this installation may differ. Like if you are using Ubuntu, CentOS 7, and Windows, depending on the operating system, the installation process may change. So now you can see that it's doing some configuration over there, and it's trying to install the operating system over here. So the installation started. So it's starting the installer. Let me take it to the full screen so that it will be visible for you. So if you see here, it's starting the installation. So you got the UI here, and you can see this keyboard layout. I'll go with English and US layout. Continue. So here you can see there is some configuration which is required, like all these things. And yeah, it's trying to highlight all these things. So let me first select the time zone. And as you can see, it's somewhere, it's not in a time zone. Actually, I'm from India. I'm selecting my time zone, which is something like, if you want to change it to this time zone, you can change it. So yeah, you can see here it's selected Asia Kolkata, but the time is right now my computer time is something like 5:32 p.m. and I need to change it. I'm changing it to with my time zone. Let me take network time. I think we haven't configured that network, so if we had configured the network time, it could have updated automatically. So done, and if you see here, if you go down, so keyboard, it's okay. Installation source, okay. Software selection, if you want to select any other softwares, like I selected minimal install to avoid the storage and installation time to reduce for this lab purpose. If you have something like development and then you want something like file and print server, infrastructure server, basic web server, if you want to have some predefined server configuration, you can go and select that, and it is going to install the required packages over there, which avoids the time for us. And the installation destination, where you can select the disk over here, and you can automatically configure the partitioning, or I will configure partitioning something manually. So it's something like that. I selected the disk to use the disk instead of going for later. So this is the disk I'm going to use for the installation, and this is the installation source which we have used while doing the installation. And I selected this, and automatically, if you select I will partitioning later, you have to select your partitions manually, like a slash root file system, all those things. So I'm just going with automatic configuration for this lab purpose, and done. And it will take some time. So now you can see that it's showing begin installation. Here you are going to give your host name if you want to change the host name, something like I'm giving this host name, and if you want to have the Ethernet, you can connect it here, which is going to connect to the network. And here is the configuration of the IP address, all those things which you can get over here. Yeah, something like this you will get ENS33 clone and default. If you want to configure the IPv4 settings instead of DHCP manual IP address, you can set up here. But right now I'm going with the default settings. I'm not going to change any network settings here. I need to get the IP address. I change the host name as Kalisha Tech Fusion. And oh, sorry, you can't use special characters, all those things. So I am using this, and now you can see here that everything, all warning messages gone, and we can start installation. And here you have to create some root password which will be used for your sudo or root account. This is going to be your root account, and we can create one backup user as well. I'm going to use Gaguturu, and it took the username as Gaguturu. That's fine for me. And if you want to make this user with sudo privileges, which is in Windows we call as administrator, I'm selecting this. So this will have the sudo privileges, and just give the password for this. And that's about that. Now you can see here it's installing the all basic packages which is required for this. As you can see, it requires to install almost 310 packages. I hope it will take some time, and looks like it's very fast. We'll wait for some time, and it is going to install all required packages, and then we can go inside the operating system. And right now the packages installation completed, and you can see that it's performing some post installation setup tasks. So it will take some more time to complete the installation. And meanwhile, I wanted to show you that there are a couple of files which we saw before starting the um, installation. We had only one or two files. Now you can see that there are multiple files. One is the vmdk log file, log directory it's created, and then there is something like nvram, which is nothing but the virtual machine memory something. All files, whatever the hardware configuration which we will discuss in the VMware Workstation, that all files will be sitting here. Like if you see, the virtual disk is here, nvram, which is nothing but your virtual memory, I mean the virtual machine memory. That's going to store here in the same directory. And the VMX configuration snapshot related things we already discussed. And there is a log file which you can see what is happening in the back end, all those things with this log file. So there's a log. These are the important files which we go and check whenever we have the issue with our virtual machine. So you can see here it's actually showing a couple of configurations, and then you can see the ISO file, and there are many things it's happening in the backend which we will not be knowing. All the hardware configurations, everything that everything will be written in this log file. What happened from the starting of the installation to end of the installation complete, you will have it. And even after installation, whatever the changes it's happening, and those logs will be stored over here. And you can see here, actually, when I paused the video, I connected my iPhone, which is showing that one of the USB device found. So because we selected that USB normally, it selected to my base mission, but in the virtual mission, you can see that this USB device already it is showing. So that's how the configuration works in this virtual environment. And still it is performing post-installation setup tasks. Okay, we will wait for some more time. I'll pause the video and I'll come back. So folks, finally we have completed the installation, which is an automated way. Everything it's installed once you selected the destination and everything. Now you can see that CentOS is now successfully installed and ready for you to use. And we have to reboot that, and I'm going to reboot it right now. So I have clicked on reboot. So you can see that the reboot is started. And meanwhile, we will try to remove the CD ISO file which we connected, or we'll try to disconnect the CD. It's actually the log directory which we saw. It's showing it's in a log condition. We can override that, but for now, let us continue, and I will disconnect it later. Let it reboot properly to the voice. So now you can see that there is CentOS core installation happened, and it's showing that OS operating system CentOS 7 core. And we are in, and we can see that CentOS Linux 7 installation is going on. Sorry, the CentOS Linux 7 OS is loading, not the installation. And now we are inside the Kalisha Tech Fusion log, system, it's asking for the login. If I remember correctly, the username it used as kgagturu, and then we have to enter our password. That's all. We are inside our directory, and we can see that it's we are able to run the commands. And for your confirmation, I will show you the operating system version which we have installed. So you can see that CentOS Linux release 7.9 2009 core, and you can see that version is 7 core. So that's how we are going to install the operating system on VMware Workstation. And in my next video, I will explain how to connect this virtual machine using SSH, and from there we'll start working on Linux mission using the SSH in a text mode instead of going to inside the virtual machine. And we can close this, let it run in a background, and then we can connect using SSH. So I will show you in the next video. I hope this is very informative for you, and you got some information how to install CentOS or the virtual machine on VMware Workstation. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I hope I will provide you more information going further in this channel. Thank you.